Episode 124, day 3 in Bradenton. We recap the Pirates versus Orioles and give you our main takeaways from this weekend at spring training. You're listening to the Bucko Banter podcast, brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101s, yeah, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates, can they let me run the base? Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Order steak by the plates, and in case after case, run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snakes.
Welcome back to another episode of Bucko Banner. We're here live from Bradenton, day 3, and I've got the Jim Rosati sunburn right now. Jim Rosati's sitting right over here. Very long day, but productive day.
Yeah, I'm Adam, as always, and to my right we have Larry the Lobster. Dude, I'll put it out there now. We told you all weekend to put on sunscreen, and you just didn't listen.
I did a little bit here and there.
You put it on when it was way too late.
Yeah, way too late. It was, yeah.
Real quick, what was the reasoning for it? Because you did give us a reason.
Yeah, I wanted to get some color, man. Like I don't know.
I get it. We live in Pittsburgh. The sun's out 17
It's been a
days
brutal
a
winter
year.
up there.
Yeah, you wanted to get sun. You got plenty of sun.
I did very quickly.
You could still get sun and put sunscreen on.
Yeah, and I don't like the feeling of
It is slimy.
it's slimy. I already feel slimy being in Florida. That's the humidity makes you feel extremely slimy. So you're putting slime on top of the slime, and it makes you feel even more gross
King slime.
than you already do being in Florida.
It is. This is quite the state.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone ever lives here, to be honest with you, but I'm not gonna cap on Florida here.
No, because we had a good time at spring training. That was our last day. To recap it real quick, we saw 2 games at the backfields at Pirate City.
Yep.
Then on Friday, we watched the breakout game, and then we came back to LECOM for the night game. And then today, Saturday, we watched Pirates versus Orioles. We have some takeaways that we're going to talk about that. But we had a long day, man. We got to the park around, 9:30?
Yeah, between 9:30
10
and 10
o'clock.
got there about a little bit over 3 hours before game time.
And talked to a lot of people. Do we break down the list now, or do we just wait till the content comes out?
No, I mean, we'll break it down. We're not going to give away anything, but we'll break it down. Like we talked to 10 players while we were back there. Got some good quick questions, the hard-hitting questions that guys like Noah and Alex are afraid to ask. So we took care of that for them.
Right. You're not going to get the players' favorite colors from Noah or Stump.
Nope.
So that's why we're here. But today was a good game, man. They won 15-5, which is more runs than I've seen in spring training. A lot of positives to take away, but been here for 3 days now.
Yep.
What's your biggest takeaway from 2025 spring training, at least from the days that we've been here?
Well, I think especially it was reinforced when we got here, but before that, coming into spring, this team is really serious about Andy Rodriguez. He's getting a lot of runway.
A lot of reps.
I mean, I think he's been in every game, and he was also at Pirate City getting in reps when we were there Thursday while the team was in Fort Myers. He didn't travel with the team, but he's getting a lot of at-bats, and he's getting appearances in a majority of games. I mean, I haven't seen Jason DeLay in a while.
He was on the backfield today, which was another game going on.
Behind the center field wall there. There was a game going on. Guys getting. I mean, Bryant Reynolds was getting at bats because I know he didn't play. He played in yesterday's game, but wasn't in today's big league game. Andy Rodriguez is going to be a part of this organization. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's going to make the opening day roster because we said a month ago that I thought Henry Davis would make the opening day roster, and Andy would get some runway in AAA, given that he was out all last year and didn't play at all. But regardless of if he doesn't make the opening day roster, I think we're going to see Andy very, very soon.
I agree with that. I think he definitely has a place, and it's going to be weird if Henry can succeed. I think we're both in agreement he's going to make the roster as the second catcher behind Joey Bart, which I'm pumped about. We talked about it yesterday, how he looks like a professional catcher behind the plate. The bat has been fine. Spring training, he's had a couple of home runs, which is one thing. Last year they hit 46 home runs. I believe they led the Grapefruit League.
Yeah.
This year they're at 23.
Let's keep it there.
So maybe we're just saving them for later because power was a big problem last year. But we saw Henry go deep today. but that catching room is so interesting.
It's a good. I don't even know if I want to say a good problem. I hate classifying it as a problem because I feel like Jason DeLay is a type of catcher. He gives me like Chris Stewart vibes. If we're thinking of old Pirates,
old reliable,
man. He puts the bat on the ball and he's a good catcher. Like I think a lot of teams would love to have a backup catcher like Jason DeLay, and he's our fourth catcher.
I think it just became more confusing when they said Endy's not going to play first base because the value is, especially for the Pirates, for a guy that plays multiple positions. He's young. You're saving his knees. If you have a Joey Bart or Henry Davis that's also going to contribute to this lineup and add the much needed power that they didn't have in 2024, and if Endy can hit, then you find a spot for him in the lineup no matter what, instead of trotting out whoever they're going to trot out opening day at first base for the first couple of weeks while Horwitz recovers. So I'm glad to see the trajectory that he's on and that he keeps hitting and he's made a full recovery. But when he comes back and Horwitz is healthy, and if Bart's succeeding, and if Henry's still on this roster, but you got to find a place for him, then this, where do you move guys around?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, again, a good problem to have because you got guys that you can be a little bit flexible with. I mean, Joey Bart's going to stay behind the plate, but you can move, theoretically. You can move Endy around if you wanted to. And you see guys that maybe you want to take them away from behind the plate to preserve them offensively. You see them play first base. The Twins moved Joe Mauer there, maybe a little bit too late. Buster Posey played some first base at the end of his career, but like,
he's young. I mean,
you want to preserve their knees and preserve their bodies because catchers being having a good bat and staying behind the plate your whole career, it's rare, right? It's rare. That's why these offensive catchers are few and far between. So I especially coming back from an injury, I don't see why they wouldn't want to give him some reps at first base or maybe DH him and just get that bat in the lineup. But I think it's more so a thing of like, hey, he hasn't seen live reps. He hasn't seen big league pitching in a while. So I think that's definitely part of it, why he's getting so many reps. But they're clearly serious about him, and he's performing. Not to put too much weight into, results in spring training, but he's clearly performing.
The swing looks good.
Yeah,
it looks solid from the left side. I think we had some issues at the beginning of spring with him potentially pulling out a little bit with the front shoulder, but he seems to be getting through the ball nicely and he's elevating it. As well. So good to see Endy back. My takeaway is the bullpen is going to be very good.
Yeah.
Last year was supposed to be the year that they were good, and it was a little bit of a disaster. It had moments. It had its moments with Chapman, and Holderman had a pretty decent year. And when Majinski came back, it had its pockets. But this year, you add much needed lefty help with Tim Meza, Caleb Ferguson, and I think Ryan Barucki's going to make this team as well. You have a legit ground ball specialist that you thought you had last year in Josh Fleming. Not anything against Josh Fleming. I don't think he was given fair opportunities and he wasn't put in the right situations. But I think Tim Mays is more of a legit one out specialist, one inning specialist to get you a ground ball, get you a double play. And then you have a guy like Caleb Ferguson who you could stretch out. And you have Barucki, who I think just had an all around weird year last year with the injuries and having setbacks and only getting a little bit of time at the end of the year. And then Santana, Holderman, Nicholas has looked good this spring. He continues to impress me. Don't think Joey Wentz is going to make this roster to make room for those three lefties that I just mentioned, but Majinski too, I think looks good.
Yeah.
The ball moves. We were talking about this earlier. Hitting should be impossible. We were up and personal with the bullpens today. We watched a ton of them, but we watched Carmen's bullpen right behind the catcher.
Yeah, we were standing there back in the nook in right field, and we were behind the fence for Justin Lawrence too. Talk about a lot of movement. I mean, it's deceiving. I think just the different looks that you're going to get out of this bullpen is what's going to make it even more deep and more effective. So I'm excited for the bullpen. I know last year we went in thinking that it was going to be a strength, but a couple injuries made it not as deep. And I think this year it's deeper, but also you have a lot of different looks, and I think that's going to go a long way. So
I think they have reinforcements too.
Yeah.
You have Eddie Jean that could potentially contribute this year. Braxton Ashcraft can potentially contribute to that group. Mike Burrows could be an option if the rotation stays healthy. So I'm not as worried about one guy going down that's going to lead to a downfall, or if Bednar isn't back to form, which we talked about it yesterday. I'm not going to spend more time on it. We'll talk a little bit about it in the game recaps, but I'm starting to turn on the if Bednar's good, then the bullpen's good. I think the bullpen's just going to be good, and they'll find a way to close games if he's not.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more bullish on the bullpen than I think maybe most, but I think this bullpen's going to be good regardless.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. And then Jack Sawinski is going to make this team.
Yeah,
I don't see a way where he doesn't. I mean, he's hitting 345. He has a bomb, 8 RBIs. He has 3 stolen bases. He made a great play out in left field today. I can even see a situation where he starts opening day just because of matchups. It's going to be a platoon of him and Tommy Pham, right? I believe. Who do they face? Sandy.
They face Sandy, so you might see Jack in that opening day lineup. I mean, I think you're going to see either Tommy or Jack in the leadoff spot too a lot.
Yeah, I think that has also been proven that Tommy's going to stay up there this year, and I don't mind him in that spot in the right situations because he has an elite approach at the plate when it comes to understanding the zone. Whether or not that's going to turn for average or on base percentage, or if he's going to struggle at the plate, but he does have a great eye. And sometimes that's awesome. Sometimes it hurts you almost. It's almost to a fault, like you see with Kutch sometimes last year, where you get screwed when you're almost too precise with how you look at the zone, right? And you understand it too well. But Tommy's a veteran, and I think he's going to be able to step into those roles. But yeah, I might be back in on I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm not thrilled about it, but I think it's going to be a better start to this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he's definitely. I was saying this earlier on our way back. Like it would take a miracle for him not to make this team because he's definitely earned it throughout the spring, and he continues to perform every game. I mean, we'll go through it in the game recaps, but he had a couple hits today, a double. He's getting a lot of extra base hits. He's seeing the ball well at the plate. I think a problem for him last year was he was almost too passive.
Right. He overcorrected.
Yeah. And I think we're seeing a little bit of a correction. He's still he's still passive, I would call him, at the plate, but last year seemed to be kind of extreme. So yeah, I think we're going to see Jack on this opening day roster. I think he's going to start a lot. He's going to platoon with Tommy Pham, and I hope it works out because
it only benefits the team if it works out. Because then if you're adding another guy that's going to hit 20 plus if he plays 162, right? Because right now you have Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz, and then everything up from there is up in the air on who can provide power for this team. Is Andrew McCutchen going to be able to hit 20 home runs again? He's a year older. I don't know. Is Joey Bart going to continue a full year of power, especially in that catcher position? It's hard to do. And then who else is there? Maybe Spencer Horwitz if he gets more of a sample size and plays more games. But Jack Sawinski has proven that he can hit 20 plus home runs in a year. He just needs to be more consistent and not K as much.
I've been pessimistic about Jack in the past, but we definitely desperately need the thump in this lineup. So I'm all, I'm rooting for it.
Let's talk about today's game, but before that, let's take a quick break. We are back to do a game recap of our spring training matchup at LECOM versus the Orioles today, and joining us is NS9's very own Jim Rosati.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting me stay in the content house.
Dude, the content house has been a good time. We're happy that you could join us here this week, and it's been fun. Sax is taking a little nap over there in the corner. Hopefully our voices didn't put him to sleep. But
he's listened to every podcast that we've done live. Yeah. And he's just tortured over in that little corner that he is. It's how would you say
this? A trundle bed or something like that?
Murphy bed?
Or Murphy bed? Okay.
I think the Murphy bed comes out of the wall, right? Yeah. This is more of like what you see it's a day bed.
That's
but if you were to put it in like a 13-year-old girl's bedroom, He's just passed out over there.
He's out of there.
Yeah, he's had a lot of sun walking around, and that windbreaker's got to be tough in this weather. But
He's had a busy week.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely a lot of biking around South Florida. But Jim, let me ask you the question that we both answered just previously. What has been your biggest takeaway from spring training so far?
Ooh, I think the pitching is going to be good, like you guys have already mentioned. My biggest takeaway is still I'm not sure where this offense is going to come from. Like I still kind of keep going back that today was a good day.
yeah,
We'll talk about that. But just overall, can this lineup produce runs on a consistent basis? And outside Cruz and Reynolds, like who's going to hit you 20 homers? Is it going to be Jack Swinski? Is it going to be Henry Davis? Like, because you need more than that. You can't just have those two guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about the bullpen? We talk about the pitching's going to be good. Do you believe in this bullpen? I know last year this is the strength of this team, and then we're not certain about the starting rotation. We're not certain about the bats, which we're still not certain about now. But I feel like they might have shored up this bullpen. There's still questions with Bednar, but what's been your takeaway so far with this group?
I don't know if they're going to be like locked down. Like, I don't know if this bullpen's going to be like a top 10 bullpen in Major League Baseball. But I think last year they were like a bottom 3 or 4.
Right.
They're going to be better than that. I think this bullpen can be average. If the starting rotation can be a top 10 rotation, then you just need the offense to be like slightly below average.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess I'm higher on the bullpen than some because I believe in David Bednar. I think he's going to have a big bounce back year. I think the depth in it, there's a lot of just good pitchers, but I don't know if it's going to be like a shutdown bullpen.
Sure. I think it's going to be impactful at the very. I mean, I think it's deeper than last year, but I just maybe how deeper we don't know. We'll see. But Carmen Mlodzinski started today, and we know that he wants the opportunity to start. They're stretching him out. He threw 64 pitches. Let's talk about Carmen Mlodzinski, how he looked. I think the lone blip was that leadoff homer to Dylan Carlson, and then David Bednar came in. You got to see a little bit more of the David Bednar 2/3 of an inning than we did. It looks maybe probably worse if you look at the box score, but take us through that real quick.
Yeah, if you're looking at the box score, it looks bad.
Yeah.
I can tell you, like those he should have been out of that inning at 4 batters. I was actually looking earlier, the leadoff double, it had a 97% catch rate. So like that's a catch that is going to be made almost every single time. And you start out with 1 out as opposed to no outs, runner on second. The inning goes completely different. Nick Gonzalez booted a ball in the hole, went down as a single, I think. But like most shortstops are probably going to make that play. And yeah, overall, Bednar's stuff hasn't been bad this spring. It's the same that we've seen it. I think he's going to bounce back. I know, like coming off of that pitiful outing that he just had, it's like there's red flags everywhere. But don't look into this line, this just David Bednar line, and think that he pitched poorly today, because he didn't. I'd
rather him struggle right now and figure it out, because last year he didn't have any time at all during the spring. He wasn't ramped up. He was dealing with, what was it, a lat injury? It was something of that nature, but he was kind of just thrown into the season, and then he had to figure out then, and then it becomes a mental game. So not concerned about that. Mlodzinski, I thought, looked good for the most part. I think he's going to be able to pitch high leverage innings, and then, as you mentioned, they could stretch him out in potential longman role. He could be an opener, maybe potentially for more than like an inning or two.
We won't have to call up Jake Woodford or whoever.
Yeah, again, they have depth, and we mentioned it. 15-5 victory. The bats were going today. Henry Davis went deep again. I don't think the swing looks much different than years past, but I think the approach might be slightly better. But I think what's more important is I think the human being that is Henry Davis is completely different this year. He just seems like he's in a better place than he was mentally before. We've talked with guys who have been first round picks and then have struggled and have jumped back and forth, and the mental toll that puts on you, and being 1-1 in the position that he's been in, getting called up right away as a right fielder, and then not being certain where he's going to play at the major league level, that affects more of your game than you understand. These are human beings. You've succeeded your whole life at this sport, and then when you get to the highest level, you're lost because you don't have a spot, and that can impact you significantly. So I think he has a better understanding of himself, of the mental game behind baseball, and that's part of the reason. I think it's more than 50% of the reason why I think he's going to make this roster, but where he's going to find more success at the plate, just understanding himself more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Davis, similar to where like Brian Hayes was a few years ago, where I always say like you bet on the makeup of the player, you bet on the athleticism of the player. Davis has both of those. Like he's the player, like off the field, he's the guy you want him to be. On the field, he's got all the tools. He's got everything that you need to be a productive major league player. The way the Pirates handled his call up certainly threw a wrench in. There's no way that didn't affect him in some capacity. Like you get called up to the majors, it's this whole new thing. You're trying to learn major league pitchers and trying to be able to hit them. And at the same time, you're learning a brand new position that you've never really played before. You've been a catcher your whole entire life. And it's like, oh, well, now you're going to play some right field. That had to be tough. Like it had to be.
Right.
So now that he's just focusing on catching, he's got, a whole off season under his belt where that's all he did. This is now a second off season really where he just hammered catching. Yeah. You hope that he turns things around because all the tools are there. Things need to click for him.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit before Jim came on, but do you see, and you both can answer this, do you see a scenario where we carry 3 catchers on this roster where maybe they do give Endy some run at first base and Henry, not that he's ever going to play outfield again, but he could be a solid backup catcher, even a catcher 1 if Joey Bart goes down. And Joey Bart maybe DHs sometimes because I think we like having his bat in the lineup. I think you can get a little bit creative with the three catchers.
There's precedent for it. They've done it before. For this year, at least at the beginning of the season, it's going to depend on how first base goes until Horwitz gets back. I would really make that decision once Horwitz gets back and we understand a little bit more of how this roster is going to be constructed, because the first month, I think, is always a crapshoot on who's going to be where. There's going to be guys coming up and down, a lot of matchups, obviously, with the Pirates, but I don't see them carrying 3 catchers. And I guess it's going to depend. Like, does Davis actually succeed? If he doesn't succeed, then you can just swap him in Endy, and then Endy jumps into that 2 role. But I guess your question's based on like, hey, if Bart and Henry are succeeding, then do they carry 3 catchers? I think you have to. If
carry the
you want to
bats.
get his bats in the lineup, yeah, you have to. It doesn't matter what position they play. You find somewhere for them to go. And I think in the back of their head, they said Endy's not going to play first base. That's because he is a catcher, but they know he has the ability to play infield, and he can be serviceable at first base. Whether he's going to be an elite major league first baseman, no, most likely not. He's not going to get enough run over there to begin with. But if his bat is good, yeah, you can plug him in at first base. So in that situation, yes, if everyone's succeeding, you don't have other options in this system to supplement better bats.
Yeah.
Look at AAA, who's coming up that would be a better outfielder or a better middle infielder. Nobody, right?
You got Peggy, Matt Gorski, and
I think a lot of it depends too. Like, where does Billy Cook fit?
Sure.
Where does Nick York fit? Do they fit? What's this bench going to look like? Because if you're thinking about having Davis, Bart, and Endy, and you have to have an outfielder, so you're probably looking at Bay or Sawinski for that 4th outfield spot. Is Adam Frazier all of a sudden kind of on the chopping block? Or is he automatically on the team because he's got a major league contract? Like, I don't know if you can carry both Adam Frazier and 3 catchers because you kind of have Triolo in there too, who does the same thing. Yep. So, or Triolo has options. Like, and I don't think that's something that they want to do or they should do. Like, Triolo should be on the roster over Adam Frazier if that's the choice.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I think just from the roster construction standpoint, 3 catchers isn't going to make sense. But like you both said, if you are going to hit, if you are hitting, they're going to find a spot for you. Because this offense right now, they need hitters, and there's not a lot of them.
Yeah. O'Neal Cruz went 2 for 3 today. He's had a decent spring, 1 run. He's taken a lot more walks this spring. I think just even on lefty, he looks a little bit more comfortable. He's also stealing a lot more bags or taking them
6 or 7.
Right. And that's something last year where, again, people forget that was his first full year of Major League Baseball, coming off of a horrific ankle injury. He's a fast guy. This is somebody who we always preach is going to be a 30-30 guy or has 30-30 potential. I think we're going to see a step up, at least in that part of this team this year. And if we're going to add to the offense, we're going to win in those margins, and you're going to take in an extra bag here, put more guys in scoring position. That's something that they'll be able to take advantage of with Cruz's speed. If Sawinski can stay on the roster, he's fast. So something good. I'm still a little concerned there might be a learning curve in center field, even with a full off season. We were talking about it earlier, how there was a pop-up in the Bermuda Triangle and nobody called it off. It should have been Cruz's ball.
Should have been his ball.
And if not him, then Sawinski. So the outfielders need to take charge. That's the one thing. He's the captain of the outfield. He covers more range than probably most people in the league, just from how large of a human being is and how much range he can get with those long strides. So he needs to take that next step, and I think he could potentially be a Gold Glove caliber center fielder in years to come. But there's going to be still some blips moving forward where you might see the occasional ball drop in where he's waiting for the shortstop to take control of the situation.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's what scares me about this outfield, guys. I mean, this is why I really want Billy Cook on the roster, because Billy Cook is easily our best defensive outfielder. So right now you're looking at O'Neal Cruz, who's still learning the position. Like you said, he has the potential to be a Gold Glove or a above average center fielder. Let's start there. But on the corners, you have Reynolds and Pham or Sawinski, and those guys aren't lighting the world on fire defensively. So when you think of your fourth outfielder, you probably want someone like a Michael A. Taylor. I'm just using him as a recent example, but he was a fourth. He came in late innings to replace guys defensively. We don't have that guy this year. It's kind of scary.
No, I mean, you're just hoping that Cruz can learn that position because you just need his athleticism to just take over, be the free safety out there. If there's a ball in the air, go and get it.
Yeah.
That ball that landed today, and again, at spring training, he's played 28 games, I think, in center field his entire career. That's a ball he needs to get to. In the regular season, that can't happen because that led to 3 or 4 runs.
Sure.
Speaking of the outfield, too, so Sawinski went 2 for 4 with a double today with 2 RBIs. He's hitting 345 this spring. We also have G1 Bay. Let's talk about G1 Bay real quick. I know this is
do we have to?
Yeah, we don't.
3 and with a double. I mean, I feel like he did this last year in AAA. He's hitting 481 in the spring. Small sample size, but just putting it out there. I feel like in AAA last year, he was hitting above 350 or whatever. Is he just a quad A guy? Yes. Is that just what he is?
Yes, he's going to kill it at AAA. He's going to be one of the best guys in the field, and the jump is too big. He doesn't have a position. He doesn't thrive in center field. He takes god awful routes.
Yeah,
it's maybe some of the worst in baseball, and he makes some of these incredible plays where it's a diving catch or a play at the wall. But if you go look at how he tracks a ball, he probably should have got under that ball or taken a more efficient route. They really don't play him in the infield.
He hasn't played infield in a while,
at all.
It's kind of the traffic jam there at second base.
Exactly.
We have enough second base.
Yeah. We already have enough of that. So then if you're looking at him just as an outfielder and a pinch runner maybe at the next level, maybe he makes some appearances in that role. But if you're going to have him on this team as a fourth outfielder, there's no shot that he hasn't succeeded in those roles. And based on how the roster is constructed, I don't think you need him in that role.
Yeah, he's having a good spring, and it's easy to see why the Pirates like him, and they're giving him a ton of shots. He's so fast.
Yeah,
you hope the tools translate to good on-field play, and he's performing really well this spring. And he killed it in AAA last year. But yeah, every time we've seen him in the majors, it's just he can't hit major league pitching, can't hit major league fastballs in particular. Can't catch up to him. When you see him out in the field, like you said, he makes the incredible plays, but then he also makes the boneheaded ones on the bases. As fast as he is, too many caught stealings, too many mistakes on the bases. He's also really young, so maybe he can grow and kind of become a better player that way. But you said it earlier, right now, if the competition for fourth outfielder is him and Sawinski, Sawinski's got to be the guy right now, especially because you need the power.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't see much of Billy Cook this weekend.
Not at all, man. Not at all. I feel like we haven't seen him in a couple games. It's been a while. He's not getting the reps that Nick York's getting.
Nick York got some time at first base this weekend. Didn't look particularly great.
No.
Stewart didn't look good there today either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that going to fold out the next couple of weeks? Who are we thinking? Is it Derek
who-
Hall that's going to take the reps at first base? I know it might only be for a couple of weeks, but again, if Endy's going to continue to ramp up and they don't want him to play first base and they're going to either platoon, then is that an avenue for Billy Cook to make this roster? Because we know he can play first base and he can play outfield. So he could also serve as a fourth
told us he
outfielder.
prefers outfield because I think he likes being like in center field, like commanding, being the quarterback.
Sure, he's
or free
athletic,
safety.
man. I mean, it's
He's
kind of a
very
waste
athletic.
at first base, but he's capable.
But he's very capable, yeah. So,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna just go. I mean, you could just go with DJ Stewart, and it's like, okay, there's your first baseman. If there's a lefty on the mound, put Triolo over there, and there
Yeah.
you go. Right. There's a lot of routes they could go, and or do you just roll with Triolo and say, hey, Triolo, depending on how long this is that like Horowitz is going to be out, do you just roll with Triolo? Do you roll with Cook? Do you put York there? Like, there's a lot of options. I think all of them can hold down the fort for a few weeks until we get Horowitz back. Like right now, if I had to guess, I still think DJ Stewart is probably
same.
going to get that spot, but it's still very much a competition.
Yeah. And he brings the big league experience too. Like he's gotten like quality time with the Mets, the Orioles, like within the corner outfield and at first base.
And he can hit righties. Like that's what he's been able to do his whole career is hit right-handed pitching.
So, and I think they might go, hey, let's go with the bat for 2 weeks and worry about the defense when Horowitz gets back.
Yeah, go with potential power.
Yeah.
That might stay hot at the beginning of the year and then
and get on base.
Yeah.
Well, there's no harm to it. He's got an opt-out in his clause too. So like if you either put him on the major league team or you risk losing him, which is fine. Like if you lose DJ Stewart, it's not like anybody's going to be going crazy. But you give him that shot and you see how it goes. 2-3 weeks. It should be all right.
Anything else we're missing here? I think that about
the only thing I
covers it.
wanted to mention, I mean, we talked about the bullpen real quick, but I really liked what I saw from Justin Lawrence, and I think Baracki's had a really solid spring. Tim Meza, other than that one outing, has looked pretty good. I'm optimistic about the pitching. I'm not worried about them too much. I'm just interested to see how the bats, how the lineup and the depth, rolls out going into March 27th when we go down to Miami for opening day. I think there's still some competitions going on, like very much so, and we'll see how those end up. But pitching wise, I'm not too worried.
Not worried at all. No worries about Haney.
No, we talked about this last night. I mean, like he even said he's not a spring guy.
No,
whatever that means.
He's had so many spring trainings.
Yeah,
he got here late. Like
he's pitched in a couple World Series.
The most important thing for Andrew Haney is that when he's ready to take his first start in the major leagues, he can go 5+ innings. Like that's the only thing that matters at this point.
Just eat innings at the back of that rotation.
And we saw Bailey falter spring last year. Like it was like one of the worst springs I've seen.
Known nice guy.
Known funny guy too.
Known funny guy. That'll come out soon. Known family man. Do you guys think they divvy up this rotation so it's Skeens, one of Mitch Keller or Jared Jones, and then throw one of those lefties in between just to have a little bit more parity in the rotation?
I'm not big on rotation order because I think like once you get into the season and there's injuries and stuff like that, it just everyone's on different schedules. Like I think rotation orders is the dumbest thing to argue over. But if you want to start the season and like get different looks and try to get guys in a certain order, I think that's fine. I over 162, it's inevitable that it's going to change.
It's going to happen. But if you're coming up on like a division series,
sure,
and you want to go righty that throwing 99 to a lefty throwing 93 back to a guy throwing upper 90s, I think that definitely has benefits.
It has benefits, but that's also what a bullpen's for, right? Like,
sure.
You get to that start, you're like, all right, I got Jared Jones. Let's maybe throw Caleb Ferguson next.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you saw them last year. Jones and Skeens usually went back to back, especially like when they were together in the beginning. I'm with you, Scott, in that I think once you get into the season, a lot of times those guys aren't even going to be pitching against the same teams. Like a 3-game series could work out. Yeah, and there's so much attrition in that rotation throughout the course of a 162-game season. It's all going to look different in 2 to 3 weeks anyways.
Yeah. Of course. Well, it was a good time.
Yeah.
We had a blast with Jim, Adam Debo, our cameraman, and Saxboy Billy, who has just been snoring up a storm
I hope some of that gets
over
into
there.
the audio.
I apologize
I
if you
almost
just
put my
heard
socks into his mouth.
if you heard an absolute bear of a human being just snoring away for the last 35 minutes we were recording. He's turning now. He's going back to sleep. Jeez, oh man, put a cover over your face or something. Well, it was fun. I loved being in this house with everyone here, recording podcasts, doing the Sax Cast. So go follow that if you haven't already. But go subscribe, like, share, leave a comment, go follow on all social media, and then go to Bucko Banter, buy some gear.
Yeah.
And then we'll have some really cool content coming out this week with the mini mic. So stay tuned for that. And until then, raise it.
Raise it.
See you guys.
Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates, or the steak by the plates. And